What's up, everybody? Josh Riel here, and I have a very special guest. It's Jim Starlin, the creator of Thanos, Drax, Gamora, a lot of your favorites, and the writer of the Infinity Gauntlet, which of course has inspired the massive epic Infinity Saga that has taken place in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Jim, how's it going?
I'm flying. Been flying ever since we saw the premiere the other night of the movie, and I think it's just going to keep getting better.
And now that you've seen Endgame, you know how it all ends. I'm curious, what were your thoughts on how it all played out?
I was amazed. The hardest part of going to a premiere is coming up and talking to the writers and directors later on, and Marcus McFeely and the Russo's brothers did such a terrific job that I come out of the movie and all I want is a drink and I'm completely tongue-tied. I was just flabbergasted, just the spectacle and the emotional ride, up and downs that you have on it. There's some really heartbreaking moments and mixed in with a lot of really funny little incidents here and there.
But let me ask you specifically about how Thanos' story played out. And it's pretty shocking early in the movie. You know, he gets...
I didn't buy it for a moment.
And then later we get, 2014, Thanos comes back, and then he gets taken out as well. In the same way, he gets dusted as well, which I thought was a very, poetic justice for him, kind of getting what he deserves. But what were your thoughts on how his character played out in Endgame?
His final moments in the movie, I think, are just priceless. His demeanor once he realizes what's happening, I think that's just one of those little moments in film that everyone is going to remember. It's like acceptance and taking it like a man, and I thought that was perfectly played.
You're right. I thought he was gonna say something or be like, "I'll get you one day" or something like that. But no, they really played it.
Okay, this is the end. Let's get it over with.
Yeah, it was inevitable. What I think is so interesting about Thanos was how, in the comics, he was obsessed with death. In the movies, they changed it, so he's obsessed with bringing balance to the universe. What are your thoughts on how they made that distinction and they kind of went in a different direction with that?
Well, they were very open with me about why they did that. Marvel is a little bit hesitant right now to introduce the abstract entities into the Marvel universe, just because they're not sure how the movie-going population is going to take that. I think that'll change once they get a couple more Doctor Strange movies out of the way. The alternate motivation they used was right out of Silver Surfer 34, so I had no complaints. They were substituting my idea for another one of my ideas, so who am I to complain on that one?
Endgame features this massive battle of Thanos and his forces versus all of the Avengers and all the assembled heroes. What really struck me was how much of a physical threat Thanos was. Even without the stones, he had that incredible spinning blade weapon that looked like a helicopter blade. And so when you had initially conceived Thanos, was it to make him someone who could throw down with an entire team of an entire army of heroes?
Well, no character comes out fully developed. In fact, when we first did him in Iron Man, he's got this silly-looking costume on that I changed as quickly as we could so he could get it more menacing looking. But no, he sort of developed into this powerhouse more as the stories went along. He kept inflating and getting bigger with each passing issue. He was originally a skinny little character in my original concept drawings, and Roy said beef him up. Roy Thomas, the editor. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. I love the fact that he kicked the Hulk's tail in the last one, and he was going on against a whole group of people this time, and he was the character I expected him to be. He's the dark force of the Marvel Universe, and able to stand up to just about anything short of his own letting things go.
I do want to ask you about one specific thing. Infinity War ends with the snap, and we're left, not just the heroes, but us as a society, we're like, oh my God, what happened? They actually did that. And then, in Endgame, we see the heroes go on this epic quest through time to undo that. But in the comic, it actually, it's wrapped up in relatively short order from the snap and then how events play out. It's quickly undone. And but for the movie, they really made a meal of showing the heroes have to deal with that and the depression of not being able to undo it and having to rise back up and complete the quest. So I'm curious, what do you think of how they expanded on that moment?
Well, the movie didn't have a number of the characters we had in the book, like Warlock, Silver Surfer, and that. So they had to depart from where I was going at the book. I thought at one point that Nebula might get a hold of the Gauntlet at one, because that was in the book, but everybody else did at one point or another. And no, I thought it was very satisfying. You know, I've done a lot of time traveling stories myself in my time, and I think their humor that they handled it with and their explanations on things worked really well.
You also created Gamora, and as you said before, she was an emotional crux for Thanos. That was such a heartbreaking moment when she was killed. What do you think about her reintroduction of that, that 2014 version of Gamora in this? And it looks like at the end, she's still around somewhere.
Clearly, she is not with the Guardians in the final scenes, but I would assume that that's where she ends up going. I love the line about when they're talking about Star-Lord, and he goes, well, it's either him or the tree. Gamora was always the character, is the character in the movies that I think is closest to what I did in the comic book. She's like the adult in the room, maybe the second banana for the other, a straight man for the other characters in that. And so when she died in the first movie, that was really hit close to home because she was the one who I really think is the closest to what my original creation was.
You mentioned Nebula before, and she's an interesting character because yes, when she survived Infinity War, I thought for sure she would play a similar role in undoing Thanos' plan like she did in the comic book. She ended up taking a different role, but how do you see her arc? Do you like how her arc played out in Endgame?
Yes, they had established by the time this strange shootout at the end, they sort of established that the different timelines would allow what they had happen there happen. And so I kind of like the whole idea of a character playing against their own self-interest, and so that part of the story I really enjoyed quite a bit. She betrayed herself in the past before she ever got to the point where she was, and that kind of dichotomy always, I got to smile at those kind of things.
But okay, well, thank you so much, Jim. It was great talking to you.
My
Really
pleasure.
appreciate it. That was our chat with Jim. Thanks for watching. And for more Avengers Endgame content, check out our review and a bunch of spoilery stuff for after you've seen the movie. And be sure to follow and subscribe to IGN.